I believe it's, sorry, 2 weeks ago, we all met here on the same place to talk about halal travel in general. And this one is more specifically about the halal food industry and how we can further explore this sector of halal travel. I think today's session will be a little more in-depth, so I hope you take your notes and have your pen ready. I would like to take a few minutes now to introduce ourselves. I think Sheikh Abdulatif, when he comes in, we'll introduce him officially. I will be the first speaker to kind of do a recap almost and going into a little bit more detail with halal food. And then I will be followed by Sheikh Abdulatif, who is from Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification. I'll tell you more about who KBHC is as we go through this program. Now, I'd like to start the session with introductions, but introductions from all of you. So as I allow you to talk, feel free to talk. Put up your hand when you're ready to, because I know some of you might have technical problems. We have in this group, and I know she already communicated she can't talk and she's in the field. We have Nikki Williams, who's coming from Royal Africa Safaris. I believe Nikki does a lot of luxury travel around Africa. Nikki, you're welcome to talk if you want to. And then we have Mustafa Lekishon, who is from Lamu and is a general manager for Peponi Hotels. Welcome, Mustafa. Mustafa. Now, I know, Mustafa, you have connectivity. I'm a little bit curious from last week is, do we have a recollection of what was your take home, or what was the biggest learning you took from last week? I mean, 2 weeks ago from the last session. Mustafa, you're welcome to contribute. And then we also have in the audience Mohammed Salim, who's from Kilifi, from Migombani Organic Farm, who are doing, we're interested in doing, I believe it was farming tourism or farm tourism. Mohammed, feel free to talk. So I'm allowing you all to unmute yourselves to be able to share with us what was the biggest take home last week. And then we also have Badawi from Lamu, who is from Beitul Habai. Badawi, welcome. I believe you're also interested in halal travel for you to come. So what was the biggest take home last week? 1 second, before we move on, I believe Sheikh Abdulatif has now been able to join us. He was having some technical problems. 1 second. Sheikh Abdulatif, if you can hear us, please feel free to say hello. Okay, I think he's still having some technical problems. So I think let's start with those participants from last session. So what did you what was your biggest learning curve, or what did you what was your takeaway from the last session? And when you're not talking, please unmute your mics. And if we want to talk, please let's raise our hands. If you have a question, specific question, please put it in the Q&A. Mohammed, you had something to say?
Thank you very much, Samia, for giving me this opportunity. I was very much privileged to participate on the previous meeting. Thank you so much. My take home was concerning the halal policies and regulations in Kenya. I've learned a little bit of some of the, actually we used to think that maybe it's going to be a very long process, or it's something that can not be easily implemented in most instantly as farmers in the coast, where we could have a model for farm tours. But I was very inspired to know that the regulations are not so much hard for us to to implement. And I'm really excited to learn more. Hope to get to know each other, get connected, and to learn more on today's meeting. Thank you very much. The concerns that I've raised last time are all answered. Hopefully, as we go through the meeting, we'll come up with something that we'd like to shed some light. All in all, thank you so much. I wish you guys all the best. Thank you, Samia.
Thanks, Mohammed. Now, from the previous participants, is there another take home that you think was the biggest takeaway or learning from the last session?
Wow.
I guess not. Feel free to put up your hand. If not, then we can jump right in. So give me a second while I broadcast my presentation. Sorry, Cosmas, you're trying to say something? Cosmas Kituku, please introduce yourself. Hello, Cosmas, you are now unmuted. Can you hear me? Okay. I think let's go into the presentation and start the first session, which is on halal food industry in Kenya. Let me broadcast it for a second. Can you all see that screen? For those who have been unmuted, feel free to contribute. And again, if you have any questions, and because this is more interactive, in the middle of a presentation, feel free to raise your hands and put down in the comment box if it's something that you don't want to distract the presentation. You can just put it, sorry, in the chat box. Okay, Nikki has added something in the chat box. She said it was really interesting to see the potential of this market and wonderful to hear that you were holding these workshops. Again, to remind everybody that anyone who participated in this, we appreciate your time. We will be providing a 10% voucher for those who want to take the training further for as global certification through Crescent Rating. So thank you for coming. And then I think we also have amongst us those who weren't there in the last session, but were referred by their institutions, because today's session is more focused on food. So we have, for example, the executive chef with us here from Baobab Beach Resort, who wasn't there in the last session. We also have, that's Chef Musau. We also have Cosmas. Sorry, that's Cosmas is the executive chef. We also have Cosmas, who's also a chef from Baobab. So thank you for coming. We'll try and do a brief recap, maybe not into detail, just to help you run through it. We already went through what did we learn last week, and what people felt they learned from it. But generally, I think the most important thing was for us to know the meaning of Islamic or halal tourism, and to be clear again, and to revisit it, it's in relation to activities that are in the accordance with Islam. Now, what I'm interested to find out is from the participants, anyone who does remember the other concept that's used interchangeably with Islamic or halal tourism. Does anyone remember? feel free to put it in the chat box, or what other word is used to talk about halal or Islamic tourism? I know Mustafa was there with us last week. Nikki, I'll help you a little bit. Muslim-friendly tourism. So maybe I've helped you with that, but what is Muslim-friendly tourism? Okay. I think it's understandable. We had a quick session. So it's making an experience enjoyable to the Muslim traveler. Well, halal, there's this perception that halal is a religious aspect, but it's more about making the Muslim traveler comfortable in terms of their food, in terms of how you treat them, in terms of how you're able to help them meet their religious expectations. I think at the end of the day, we have to also consider that they're not all Muslims are the same, and not all Muslims have the same understanding of Sharia, of their religious duties, and we can see it by just the fact that of how different Muslims wear the hijab. So you have to treat each Muslim individually, and that's really one of the take-homes we should take from last week. So your institution, or your hotel, whether it's your restaurant or your tour company, is the one that decides also what is your branding, where do you see yourself that you're targeting your audience, and then you're able to determine, are you selling Islamic tourism, are you selling halal tourism, are you selling Sharia compliant tourism, or Muslim friendly. They're all terms used interchangeably, but really it's about what is your target audience, and what is your agenda in terms of how you promote yourself as an institution. I hope that that clarifies the words that are used interchangeably. Again, it doesn't mean you have to use one over the other, but we as travelers, as Muslim travelers in particular, we tend to be the ones who decide what we're comfortable with. Now, I think last time we also talked about the growth, and the Global Muslim Travel Index was a study, research done by Crescent Rating, looking at how the Muslim travelers are traveling in terms of the decisions they're making, where they're going, how much are they spending. And this is exactly why we're here today. We're looking at an industry that is the fastest growing in the world, compared to other travel segments, and not religiously, but rather country segments. If you look at the growth of the Western travel markets and the Muslim travel market, we're trying to tap into an industry that is predicted that will be spending $300 billion by 2026. However, of course, with COVID, there's still more research to be done on how much that will change. Now, why are there drivers there? And this is again a recap of the entire presentation from last time. One, there was a growing Muslim population. Two, is a growing middle class. There are a lot more Muslims nowadays traveling and having dispensable income than before. So the growing middle class has allowed this industry to grow exponentially. And then we have, on top of that, the younger population, that more than many other communities, Muslims have a much younger population than others, which means there's more travelers, more exciting exploration of different countries and whatnot. And then internet, why are there more growth of Muslim travelers? It's easier for now a traveler to find access to information on where is halal, what is halal. If you Google, for example, halal food Nairobi, nowadays you can find so many blogs, so much so much is accessible in the hands of your fingertips, basically. And then we have the availability of Muslim-friendly services. More than ever, we have it possible now that you have restaurants that have halal food, you have restaurants that have vegetarian, you have restaurants that have kosher, I see, sorry, I'll interrupt myself. I see Sheikh Abdulatif has been able to join us. Sorry, I'll put on mute a little bit. Sheikh Abdulatif has been able to join us. Karibu sana, Sheikh Abdulatif. He's currently at the moment the Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification, one of the experts who handles the sector of certification. And we're very honored to have him here with us, who will go into detail later to specify on exactly what, let me stop sharing so you can see him. He'll go into detail later to specify into more detail on what the process of halal certification is, what Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification is, and the specifics they look into. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. You're welcome. You can say hello so we can hear your voice.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much. I'm delighted and happy to be with you today. Inshallah, we'll discuss all the issues when my time comes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheikh. Welcome. We appreciate your time. Going back into the presentation, I was just going to summarize on the issues of availability of services. We have kosher, we have halal, we have vegan. There's all these new terminologies like vegan that didn't exist several decades ago. But you find many five-star hotels are nowadays catering to vegans and catering to vegetarians and kosher. What's the difference really? There is no difference between the three, and that's why even as Muslim travelers, there is a difference. What I mean is there's no difference in catering to a traveler. The concept is hospitality and trying to care for their needs. Now, when we talked last week, we highlighted, and this was through the presentation we're concentrating on thinking about the key touch points and thinking of yourself. Which area do you fit in? What are you providing as a service? Are you in the transport business? Are you an accommodation? Are you a destination? And that helps you determine what you need to consider in terms of the changes in adaptability to a Muslim traveler. Now, when we look at which are the areas that have the most concern to a Muslim traveler, it was actually in the transport terminals in airports and accommodation. And when you think about it, why are those the most important? And I take a lucky guess on why those two are a key priority. It's because it's actually the two areas that you will most have to worry about food, because when you're stuck in an airport for 7 hours on transit, you need to worry about where you're going to eat. When you're staying in accommodation for 2-3 days, you have to worry about what you're going to eat. But if you're just going for a day and touring a heritage site, you take a snack and you come back to your hotel. If it's transport from point A to point B, same thing, you carry a snack. But the place where you're stuck for a long period of time, or you might have to take a meal, is quite concerning. And that corresponds to the priority needs for a Muslim traveler, which is halal food. This is why we're here today. These results were based on the Global Muslim Travel Index, the Crescent Rating, which is an institution based in Singapore that undertook research with MasterCard and surveyed Muslims to ask them, what are your biggest needs as a traveler? And they grouped them according to three. That was the need to have, the good to have, and the nice to have. And actually 99.99% of Muslims are in the need to have area. Those four aspects in the need to have, but the number one being halal food services. Halal food services being 99.999%. Whereas prayer and water-friendly washrooms and no Islamophobia also fall within the top percentile. So that's why we thought our first session as a follow-up should be on halal food, to get more specification on halal food, because if we're able to cut through that, we're able to cut through everything. I think Sheikh, I keep calling Professor, but Sheikh Abdulatif will go into much more detail on halal food. I just thought it's important here because I'll keep talking about it a lot. And to clarify the difference. So haram means forbidden, halal means allowed or permissible. So the opposite in Islam. And based on religious teachings, the Quran and the Hadith, which are the teaching of the Prophet. I'd like to clarify again that halal is not just for Muslims. It's actually for everyone. It's for anyone who can eat it. They can't tell the difference. You can't differentiate between halal food or non-halal food, because in fact many of the foods we have in Kenya are halal. The KFC is halal. I believe Nando's uses halal chicken as well. So it's something we all consume. The only thing is that in halal certification, what you have is this halal, the word halal in Arabic is something that most Muslims can recognize. And so when they see that, on whether it's somewhere on your website after you're certified, whether it's on your menu, whether it's on your travel brochure or tour operator, the word halal, it's a seal of assurance to a Muslim that this has been certified by a Muslim body. But not everyone can just take the word halal and put it on their restaurants and put it on their food. It's a process. It requires you to be certified. And there's so many institutions around the world that exist that do this. In Kenya, we have the Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification, where Sheikh Abdulatif is coming from. We have in Australia, you have it in China and Indonesia. Actually most countries have a form of certification body for halal. Now, if the same way you think about halal is not just for Muslims, it's the same way that kosher is not just for Jews. If you look at the kosher market in the US, actually 16% of those who consume the kosher market are Muslims. They're vegetarian, they're dairy-free. It's not just for Jews. It's actually Jews only consume 15%, only 15%. So you found a market that has grown so big in the US that the original users are less than the actual, than an audience that wasn't targeted. While it was targeted for Jews, they're not the main consumers. So it's the same way with halal. There is a potential that it might be, yes, you're targeting Muslims, but it could grow and target many other people, because as you look into halal food, you find out it's about the cleanliness of an environment. It's about the cleanliness of your restaurants, about how the animal was slaughtered. Was he slaughtered peacefully? Was he slaughtered in a way that's permissible by, for example, not seeing another animal being killed? There's so many restrictions to that. And then when you think about pork, let's say, pork is not halal. Now, not having pork products is not a Muslim thing. Jews don't take pork. Rastafarians don't take pork. In fact, you can't find pork in most of the restaurants in Ethiopia. There's so many other growingly healthy, conscious individuals that do not take pork out of choice, even more so, actually, and more rigid than we imagine. And then you look at meats. Let's say you don't have a vegetarian dish, or you don't separate your vegetarian dishes from your meat dishes in your restaurant. You have to consider, well, there's Hindus, there's vegetarians, there's even allergies. I didn't list it here, but there's even the idea of allergies. We've learned to separate. So choosing, for example, not to have pork on your menu is not necessarily an Islamic thing. It can benefit the institution in a much grander way. And then it's the same way as Islamic banking. Islamic banking is developed to have no interest, and it offers Sharia compliant services, but it's not just Muslims who use it. KCB offers it nowadays, which is the Kenya Commercial Bank. You have the Standard Chartered and so many other institutions. I think the point we're making is that you have to de-link this concept that halal is just for Muslims. It's actually for everyone. It's unfortunate, the media and sensationalization in many of the Western countries, perhaps partially due to the newer ideals of being nationalistic. But if we look at India, for example, We love India. We love going to India, but so many restaurants don't sell meat. But it doesn't stop tourists from going there. Nobody thinks about, I'm not going to India because there's no meat there. No, they're going for the destinations, they're going for the activities, they're going for the history and the culture and the beauty of the country. So we spend too much time thinking of a small thing as food, that, like, for example, a pork dish in a hotel or in your buffet as a restaurant, not realizing that whether you have it on your menu or not is actually not going to make a difference. People will still come. Nobody, when somebody researches a facility or hotel to stay at, they don't go look at the menu and say, oh, they don't have bacon for breakfast, so I'm not coming. Or they come and stay there and then they see no bacon, they go, this is the last time I'm staying here, I don't have bacon. For those who don't know, there's actually nowadays there's an alternative called Macon. Macon is actually made from beef. There's halal Macon. It's strips of beef that are sliced like bacon, fried like bacon. And from those of my friends or colleagues who do eat bacon have told me actually it tastes just as good. So I wouldn't know. I like Macon. I like halal Macon. Whether it tastes like bacon or not, I think maybe some of you working in the industry as chefs can try it out and confirm this. And if you look at India as a perfect example, they've just gone with the flow. Fine, we don't eat meat, or in some places we don't eat. So they have Muslims and Hindus. So you have some institutions. Here's a perfect example of McDonald's. McDonald's is really popular. But there's some branches of McDonald's in India, not all branches, that say we don't sell beef and we don't sell pork. Why? Because they know that is what their audience is looking for, and they know it will help them attract more people. And then they've come up with a Mac Veggie, and they've branded the Mac Veggie. They have other many meals on their menus that actually target people who don't eat beef or pork. People are still going there. It's not stopping people from going there. And I'm sorry to use the example of McDonald's. It's not the highest standards, but I think it's the perfect marketing example, not the perfect healthy food example. So humor me there. And then if we look at the range of travelers that we're attracting and the type of Muslim we're attracting, we have to also consider that not all Muslims are the same. I mean, this is another take home we have to remember today, that it doesn't mean you've gone through this training, you go get a halal certificate, and now all of a sudden you're going to attract 10,000 Muslims. How do you present yourself? And also, how are you accommodative on other issues? And I think to clarify, this presentation, and Sheikh Abdulatif will talk to us, is specifically about halal facility. And just to clarify, halal facility is where your entire restaurant is halal. You're looking at the entire process of the food chain, because it's important for you to understand the entire process and then see, okay, this is what I can do. And, start from somewhere. You can't do it all at one go, but you start by accommodating and being as Muslim friendly as possible, and as you're working towards being fully halal. If that can be done within 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, however long it takes you, but at least it's a small process, so that by the time you are getting certified, or you're interested in getting certified, you've already put some measures in that allow you to transition slowly financially, marketing-wise, or otherwise. So the halal facility, again, we'll share these presentations to you, so don't worry about paying too much attention in taking notes or screenshots. So the halal facility is looking at the entire institution. And then you have the restaurant, where I'm talking about the individuals. Here I'm talking about, as a Muslim traveler, you'll have some travelers who'll say, if there's pork in the hotel, if there's alcohol, if there's clubs, if I'm not coming there, and I'll never come there. Some segments of Muslims are like that. And then you have some Muslims say, actually, if there's no pork and there's a separate kitchen, in case of let's say you're cooking meat that's not halal, that's okay for me. I can tolerate that. It's as long as there's no pork. Pork is the 100% thing. All Muslims agree on no pork. And then you have other Muslims say, actually, if it's cooked in a separate pot, I don't mind, so long as the chef can assure me that it's been cleaned. And this is very common for example, villas. If you have a private villa, where the private villa is, it's rented out to families that come with their own food and their own meals. This is where the food aspect happened. It's just, yeah, I brought my halal food with me, my meat with me, but I know the previous guest who came before me might have cooked pork, but I'm really going to clean my dishes and wash them before I cook. So there's some Muslims who are comfortable with that. It's so long as it's been cleaned or separate, I'm fine. And then you have other Muslims who say, well, just be honest with me. Tell me, hey, listen, we don't have any halal in this restaurant. There's nothing halal, but hey, what about you take this meal that's vegetarian that I guarantee you we didn't mix it with any of the meats. And again, Muslims are individuals and acceptability varies. While the Islamic school of thought is purely that halal is looking at the entire facility, but the individual traveler is not the same. It might be the Halal Bureau of Certification has looked at the entire facility, and it's similar to the Halal World Travel Council members around the world. And that certification basically is a best case, because if you're a halal facility, then all the other Muslims will come. All of them are guaranteed, right? But if you only provide halal service, then you're losing out on the other 70% who care more about the not pork being there and no alcohol being there. So safest bet, obviously, is to have as rigid as possible. But also, that's not the most realistic. It depends on you as an institution. We have a question, and I like the fact that the questions are coming in through the presentation. Is it possible to accept partial halal compliant facility? Again, this is if it's in regards to getting a certificate, no. I think that's where the Sheikh will explain. If it's in regards to getting a halal food restaurant certificate, no, there's nothing like a partial certificate. It's either you're halal compliant or you're not. But if it's in regards to providing a service where the Muslim traveler has an option of choice, then there is, you could call it kind of like, I don't like to call it partial halal. There's nothing like partial halal. It's either it is or it's not. There's nothing like partial. So that's what I'm calling Muslim friendly. It's not partially halal. It's Muslim friendly. You're being considerate to the Muslim traveler, but you're not halal. And that's where your branding, you determine your own branding and where you want to fall. So if you want to be called halal or have your restaurant as certified halal, definitely you need a fully halal certificate from Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification. But if that's not what you're going for and you want to be Muslim friendly, I'll explain a little bit later. Again, depending on your branding, where are you lying, you can consider what level. Are you trying to certify the meals that you're having? Are you trying to certify the restaurant itself? To give an example, as a tour operator, I've tried to create packages for some hotels. I've contacted some hotels and they would tell me, oh, actually, no, we don't have a halal Kenya Bureau of Halal certificate, but our meat is actually from Kenchik, and Kenchik is halal certified, and here's a copy of the certificate. So what that tells me is, yes, we have this halal meat in the restaurant that we cook with, which means that if you have any of our chicken dishes, you're guaranteed that our meats are halal, but we can't guarantee you that we cook separately from our pork. So that's where we go back into the food is halal, the food itself, but the facility and the restaurant is not halal. So I wouldn't call it a partial compliant facility. There's no partial compliant facility. It's either you're full or you're not. But your food itself, it might be only the meat is certified, chicken is certified, but your beef is not certified, and your what do you call it? Your pork is being served in the restaurant, and that's why Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification comes in, because they're looking at the entire process, including all the meats you're handling, all the foods you're handling, all the entire supply chain of the restaurant, if you want it to be fully halal. I hope that answers your question, Frederick. So then if we go into, oh, sorry, I don't want to go into too far. If we go into now Kenya, because we have so many Muslims living in Kenya already, and there are many who are already visiting to these places, you wonder what is the level of a Muslim traveler? or Muslim preference in Kenya. And most of the Muslims, to be perfectly honest, in Kenya would presume that many things are halal because we've grown up, we presume that it's halal. And unfortunately, because sometimes it's misrepresented. So you'll have somebody saying, yeah, it is halal, but it technically isn't, because they don't want to tell you it's not. And so over many years, there's a level of mistrust that's come up that, well, so-and-so lied to us. I don't want to name the company, but there's a company that makes sausages I used to think was halal growing up, only to find out later that it wasn't. And so there's a growing need there's a growing demand by Muslims in Kenya to look for the certification because of these violations or mistrust. I mean, we had donkey samosas. For those who remember, we had it in the news that there were samosas made out of donkey meat. It created a big scandal. So I think that was maybe the turning point, even that more Muslims started looking for halal certification. Now, when that compares to when you compare Kenyan Muslims to Malaysian Muslims to South African Muslims, it was so different. And that's what we have to remember. If you look at Kenya, and this is again the GMTI index, Kenya, we ranked number 51 out of 130 in 2019 for attracting Muslim clients from around the world. Whereas South Africa, which has less Muslims, much fewer Muslims, I think the Muslims in South Africa are 2.5% of the population. We here are nearing closer to 20%, believe between 17 and 20%. And if you look at Kenya, we're ranked much lower. South Africa is actually number 6 in the non-Muslim countries. And overall, it's number 29 among all countries. Why is South Africa ranking higher? We have to ask ourselves. Yet they have less Muslims. They have, they also have they have a Bureau of Halal certification. The reason is Muslims in South Africa demand certificates. They demand them. And part of the reason is we have to remember the history of Kenya. The history of Kenya, Muslims are indigenous to Kenya because of being in the coast. Because of the Somali community, there are a lot of Muslims they've been here for thousands and thousands of years, and this is where we call home. But South African Muslims are very recent, relatively recent immigrants into South Africa. So coming into South Africa, they had to develop their own standards of food and their own standards of seeing what is halal and what's not halal. Whereas in Kenya, I mean, I grew up with my uncle has a restaurant and another Muslim neighbor has a restaurant. So there's a level of trust that, yes, Kenyans understand what Muslim food needs are, that we grew up around so many Muslims for several decades and generations from our great-grandparents. So there's a difference between the two countries. So while a Kenyan Muslim may not demand a certificate, a South African Muslim would. I've actually had one client last week cancel because I couldn't offer a certificate to a facilitator, and I can't. I cannot get you a halal certified restaurant at the place that you want, so I can't book you. And I'm very transparent. I'm very transparent on that by telling clients when I cannot book them, rather than lie to them. Now, halal travel, what this shows us is not just for Muslims, because South Africa is traditionally a Muslim minority country, and you have countries like New Zealand, Korea, Japan, Australia. All of them have developed campaigns or programs to support the halal food sector, and yet they are not traditionally halal. They're not traditionally Muslim countries. You have Cape Town that partnered with Crescent Rating to come up with the halal travel guidelines. It was a destination-focused research, and where they developed policy based on halal food that they integrated. They developed guidelines for halal food. I think Tourism Regulatory Authority was able to present in the last session where they partnered with Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification to develop the Kenyan guidelines, which currently are in draft form. The Cape Town one went a little bit further than that, because they didn't just look at the facility having those services, but also how do you market it? What countries are we marketing it towards? How do you change your branding? And overall, the entire process of retraining and they actually did a retraining of all the major institutions. So it's not just that, oh, we have to be Muslim to have this. If you look at New Zealand, they now have, and this is a screenshot from the tourism website, official tourism website in New Zealand, where they actually have a guide, a halal guide. They list the restaurants that are halal in the country. Same for Korea. They have a guidebook for halal restaurants for the country. This is not new. This is something other countries are catching up on, and we have to take advantage of the opportunity. If you look at Korea and South Africa, they're way up there in terms of attracting Muslim travelers, and Kenya isn't. Yet we have even more potential because of we naturally have Muslim communities that are living amongst us who understand the concept. It's so much easier to get somebody, a Muslim, to slaughter the livestock because there's so many out there. We already have a Kenya Bureau of Halal certification that exists. It's not something we have to come up afresh. And if you look at, and this is what I find most interesting, if you look at who are we currently attracting as a country, and you look at the UK and India, China, Germany, and France, which was studied by Tourism Research Institute. These were the top 10 inbound travelers from other countries to Kenya. These are the same ones that are outbound Muslim travel markets. So they match the same source markets where Muslims are coming from. And this, if you remember from last week, it shows you where most Muslims are coming from in terms of traveling around the world. And the top part is the OAC countries, is the Islamic countries. And the bottom part is non-OAC countries, is the non-Islamic countries. And when you look at the non-Islamic countries, out of the 10, 7 of them, we already attract. We naturally have our biggest number of tourists coming from China, France, Germany, India, Italy, USA, and UK. Yet these same 7 countries are the same ones that attract the top 20 Muslims around the world. So we don't have to change our market. We just have to rebrand towards our market. We have to try and capitalize on the facilities that we already have and inform these markets. You'd be surprised that actually, even if you look at the Muslim countries, Turkey and Nigeria are the top 50. They're not even in the top 10 of Kenya. They're in the top 50 of tourists we attract in Kenya. Very low down there. How do we take those two and bring them up? In fact, the Muslim country that we attract the most tourists from as Kenya is Nigeria. And the second most Muslim country we attract tourists from is Turkey. Now, how do we bring that up? And I'd give an example. I had the fortune of living in Turkey for a year, and people would be surprised that they didn't even know there's Muslims in Kenya. They didn't even know that there's something like halal food. When I talk to them, yeah, I'm Muslim, and they get surprised. Oh, how I didn't know there's Muslims. Or how, because they speak a different language. They're not accessing our marketing materials. They don't know about this information. So how do we tap into these sectors and get them to be aware that we do have these services, and maybe bring them down from number 50 to to top 10? If we then look at the opportunity for Kenya, local tourism, as we've learned with COVID, is the most important, more than even international tourists. We don't know what will come the next couple of years, and hopefully no other pandemic, but we have learned that we have to tap into our local market. And still, it's actually beneficial because we have 4.3 million Muslims right now in Kenya. And it's been predicted, because it's the fastest growing, that there'll be 6 million by 2020. Many of you heard about the scandal with the census. So there's this speculation that the Muslim population is growing extremely fast, especially because of the north, which is the northern frontier countries. So there's also a lot of Muslims who are now returning and fleeing Islamophobia in the West, who are afraid of living in the West, that are coming back. And Nairobi is a perfect example of that. And the other thing that we've seen lately happen is there's a lot of growing Muslim expatriates because of the institutions that are coming up, the media, organizations that are coming up in Nairobi as a hub. And considering that we house the United Nations and all the related agencies, we have to think about how we're tapping into those expats who, instead of going to South Africa for holidays because they have so many more certified halal hotels in South Africa than Kenya. How do we make them stay here? And we will never know about the tourists that we're not getting. We'll only know about the ones that we are. And to give an example is I've been to a hotel where even when I ask for halal certificate, I'm told, well, nobody's ever asked, so I don't think it's a problem. You say, well, maybe nobody's ever asked because they've not come to Kenya yet. So if somebody came, we will never know that they didn't ask because maybe they went to our website and looked and saw it wasn't there and didn't bother to ask. So the information, if it was out there, we would be able to tap into this market. Now, I think from this presentation that I feel that if we were to learn any 4 things from my entire presentation is 1, Muslims are not homogeneous. There's no homogeneous Islamic tourism experience. Yes, you can have a halal meat, halal chicken, but not all Muslims are looking for that. Maybe they want a fully halal compliant facility. So find what works for your institution and also how can it make it easier for you to transition. And at the same time, how do you try and market it so that it's not just for Muslims, so that you benefit everyone, and so that it's something that it's seen as opportunistic for all the communities. A Rastafarian can come. It could say we are a pork-free hotel. That in itself is important. How do you attract the vegetarian eaters from across the world? And then remember that you don't need to compromise on your facility or your organization to provide a positive experience. At the bare minimum, you just need assurance. And that seal of halal in Arabic is the seal of assurance. That's what most Muslims are looking for. It's not your word to say, yes, we're halal, but somebody who is officially recognized to certify you as halal has said you're halal. And then don't take it for granted. Don't say nobody has ever asked for halal, so it's not a problem. You don't know who you're missing out from. And also thinking of the fact that Muslims are not just the most increasing number of travelers in the world, but also more higher spending if you look at the average. If you're able to attract, and we've learned this the hard way in a destination like Lamu, if you compare to a time when Lamu was a backpacker destination versus when Lamu became a luxury destination, there's a difference of trickling of income in the institution. And there's a difference in also diversifying the guests so that you don't have one season. Muslims like to travel before Ramadan. They like to travel for Eid. That actually isn't the same time as Christmas. So when you're able to attract diverse clients, you're able to also allow yourself to have a year-round calendar that doesn't fluctuate so much in terms of low season and high season. I think let's ask ourselves, are we ready for halal? TRA presented last week with us. They're developing these guidelines. How do we forge forward? How do we support it? And also let's recap on the training opportunities. How do we prepare ourselves? I think you introduced a Crescent rating last week who uses insight, industry intelligence that looks at the lifestyle behavior of a Muslim traveler. Some of those things that I'm able to explain to you on the different countries and what they're looking for. Some of those insights that are important for your marketing departments, are important for those who are advertising on your social media to understand. And I was able to get that through part of the training from Crescent Rating. And then again, how do you then evaluate those offerings and offer them to the public and say, hey, this is what we have to show for our hotel. And this is very separate from halal food certification. Halal food certification, what KBHC is going to talk about, is extremely different, and it's the first point of contact. If you have a halal food certification, you capture 99.99% of the Muslim population. That is the best case scenario you can have. Now, what Crescent Rating offers is what I think, Fred, you had asked a question about earlier, but I don't call it partial halal compliant facility. It's called a Crescent Rating. A Crescent Rating means how much is your institution Muslim friendly? How friendly is your institution to a Muslim traveler? Your hotel, and you have the one crescent, and you have the farthest is the 7th crescent, and the farthest is where you have fully halal compliant facility. The bare minimum is, okay, we're Muslim friendly and we offer you a list of restaurants and meals. All this tells me is, as a Muslim traveler, if I am looking for a halal food, I'm looking for a halal facility, then I'm going to go for 5-star and 5 crescent and above. This is kind of like what do you call it, a star rating for hotels internationally, based on global standards. So you have TRA that's developing the local standards, but how does that fall, or how does it align with the global standards? How can we make sure that our rating in Kenya matches to the ratings in Singapore and the ratings in Malaysia, so that if somebody goes to Singapore and goes to a 5 crescent facility, they know they come to Kenya, and if it's also a similar one that follows the same standards. And these are things we have to explore further. Now, halal certification, which is the bare, which is the if you want to get, again, access to most of the Muslim markets, this is where you go, and this is what you do. And KBHC, I will introduce them. I'll introduce Sheikh Abdulatif after the break. We're going to have a brief break, a 10-minute break, first discussion and then a break. But he will go into much more detail. And just to clarify again, they are very different certifications. There's a certification for certifying the food, which is, for example, you have the Kenya Meat Commission, and you certifying the abattoir. The abattoir is Kenya Meat Commission and Kenchik, where they certify the way they slaughter. That's the first level of the meat. And then you have certified foods. Certified foods are the processed foods. For example, many of you might not know, gelatin is used in a lot of these gummy bears and sweets and candies. But there's gelatin that's made from pork products. So as a Muslim, many Muslims don't eat many gummy bears because it's made out of pork products. So what is the process of certifying the food? So you might be offering, and this is important because you're offering free snacks. You're offering snacks and chocolate and cakes as a snack to your hotel facility, as a welcome package, as a gift to your guests. Well, are those things that are in the package, the certified snacks or certified foods, are they halal? That you're offering your clients? Or are you going to offend somebody and say, oh my God, I went to this tour operator, they packed for me a travel pack to have a snack for the day, and they gave me gummy bears that had pork gelatin. So start thinking about it from the first access step. And then the second access step on the abattoirs is, let's say you're having a campsite. You're going out camping, you're taking your guests camping, and then you said, oh yeah, we slaughter our own goats. Okay, well, sorry, a Muslim client is not going to eat that. So somebody has just paid you $2,000 for a trip where they can't even eat the meat because they've gone camping with them. So thinking about the slaughtering process. The third one is, how do you think about the kitchen itself? The kitchen is important, for example, for also airports, for hospitals, not just for hotels. How are you operating your kitchen facility? Is it in a proper standard? Is it separated from the halal and non-halal products, or are there no non-halal products entirely? That varies. And then the last and most rigorous and actually most beneficial is even the entire restaurant is certified. Then that actually is a win-win situation for everyone. And it's not as hard as it seems. It's just a separate process, but it's not that hard. It's not that expensive. And many of the institutions we have actually already have those facilities. Considering in Kenya that we already have many Muslim-owned businesses, there's so many options for you. You can get halal sausages, halal bacon, halal meat, halal chicken. There's so many options. It's not as hard as the West to actually access halal foods. So on that juncture, I'd love to end my presentation, give some time for question and answer. We have with us so many participants here, so to be cautious of time, let's give each other opportunity and not take too long when asking the questions. I see we actually have no questions typed in the question and answer chat box. So I presume people were eager to talk this time around and verbally so that we can hear your voices. Feel free to raise up your hands if you want to raise up your hands. Frederick, you're here with us. Frederick Chakumondi is actually a director from the Tourism Regulatory Authority. Frederick, before we open up to any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Welcome, Frederick. feel free to contribute. Your presentation was beautiful the last time, and I think you had to leave early and you weren't able to join us. I've asked you to unmute. You weren't able to join us during the question and answer. Frederick? Hello?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much, Omar, for that wonderful presentation. Actually, your presentation is very insightful. It has enlightened, I think, the participants widely in 3 areas: understanding halal tourism, and also understanding Muslim travelers' specific needs, and how rating is done. I really don't have a question, but the area I raised is concerning the different prevailing scenarios we have in the country, whereby currently most facilities are yet to be certified as halal, and they have been accommodating a mixed clientele of religious, non-religious travelers. But for those who will choose to also remodel their business model to become halal friendly or Muslim friendly, there might be a situation whereby a particular facility have in mind a hotel in this instance, which chooses to have separation of facilities to accommodate Muslim travelers. That's what I was referring to partial, so that there are dedicated facilities or dedicated service areas, facilities, rooms for prayers. All those specific needs are provided in the same premises, but in other sections you find which are universal areas which are open to non-religious. There will be bars, there will be other activities which are not actually compliant with the Muslim needs. So this is the scenario I was looking at, and with going with your answer, I think we are likely to encounter this as we move forward with our quest for rating, and we might be devise ways of being accommodative and advise accordingly on those who would find themselves in such situations. Otherwise, understand that fully being halal compliant would mean the facility is wholly and fully halal certified. But there could be somebody who would want to venture into a mix combination of the service provision. Maybe you can react to that. Otherwise, I'm very much glad with what you are doing and the team who are participating and presenting today. And it is also has opened my mind to look for, explore for further ways on collaborating with the Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification and yourself, who is already doing a wonderful job. And I think there are opportunities we need to engage further the entire industry, and we will be coming handy to mobilize people for a similar kind of sensitization. I think it is something I will need to take up very fast, that this sensitization is very critical for our industry, and we will help you pursue this passion. I'm very much happy with what we are doing. We will help you mobilize the industry, those who are interested and willing to accept or accommodate or leverage on the opportunities available on the emerging halal tourism for our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. It's an honor to have you here. And again, and that is that's something that it's a learning process for all of us. This is a very new industry. And I think because it's new in Kenya, having partners who can work together, who can step forward and say, we're interested, we're chartering into this together, there's more likelihood that we're able to succeed in what we're trying to do. And to re-clarify, and I think your last statement on the 5-star rating, so that even the audience members here aren't confused. So the 5-star rating that TRA currently does is based on the East African regional classification system that aligns to the other countries, our neighboring countries as well, that's understood internationally and recognized. So the question is, how does that translate to the Muslim traveler? To me, you might have a 5-star hotel, but it has no halal food, then it's not a 5-star to me. And that I would rather go to a 2-star, let's say, that has halal food. So, so how do you translate into a classification system that's understandable to a Muslim traveler? And that's really where this concept of Muslim friendly comes in, because there's no way you can narrow down what a Muslim traveler is looking for into one person. It's only based on the studies that were done, seeing that halal food is the #1 thing that people are looking for. But actually bars and nightclubs is the least concern to Muslim travelers, because it's there. You know, I can ignore the nightclub. It can be far away from me, but the food, I have no choice. I have to eat 3 times a day. So if my food is not halal, then I'm not coming, or I'm not going to be happy. And so what we have to understand is what different institutions are doing. Whereas the Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification is certifying, you know, the abattoirs where where these meats are coming from. It's certifying the food processing, where the packaged meats the packaged foods, that we're getting in our shopping centers and their snacks. They're also certifying the restaurants in terms of how halal are they, and the kitchens. TRA is here certifying hotels to have their licenses. So how do you put the two together? And then you have on the 3rd level, you have Crescent Rating, that's actually certifying globally the halal institutions as a hotel, so a halal hotel. But still the precondition of having a 7 rating, a 5 rating actually, 5 Crescent and above, the precondition is you have to have a halal restaurant certification. So while the one Crescent might be somebody who doesn't have a halal restaurant, but maybe they offer one meal that's a list of restaurants that you can eat from. But then the most beneficial is the one who have a halal restaurant. So it's about, are we really going to focus on being friendly to Muslim clients? That's yourself as an institution. Are we going to look at as a hotel, if we want to attract fully halal clients, or do you want to look at being Muslim friendly? Depending on what you want is where you determine what are you going for, what are you going to go for. It's not a gray, black or white issue, unfortunately. And we have another question. Fatma Bashir actually has a question in regards to TRA. Although TRA did present today, you presented the last time, and maybe she wasn't able to ask you a question. Fatma was this last time too. Do you have the number of certified TRA facilities? I think we mentioned already that was a draft guideline. I think you can clarify, Omondi, if I'm wrong, but it was a draft guideline. But go ahead, Omondi.
Thank you very much for the questions that you have asked. Basically, let me make a clarification between the existing classification system. This is not halal based, it is not, and therefore the information already conveyed through classification system is based on quality parameters. Quality levels, denoting the levels of comfort and quality of service you provide to guests. But talking about halal friendly, we are yet to implement that, because it is the journey we started in collaboration with the Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification. By coming up with a guideline, which we are going to use as a basis of identifying and certifying facilities that are compliant and are willing to provide those services to the Muslim travelers. So it is something we are still working on, and we are yet to even to subject the document to stakeholder validation, so that we are okay and certified to implement it. After the implementation, that is the time we will be confidently talk about Kenya having facilities that are halal certified.
Thank you.
I think that's
Thank you, Monty. Now, again, there's the TRA are looking to find a cross section between the KBHC certifications and the TRA certifications. That's what the new guidelines are. They haven't done it yet. That's what they're working on. I think that's what you're trying to say, or Jack, right? And Crescent Rating is an international global organization that does halal certification for restaurants, hotels, and airports based on global standards. And so it could be that KBHC and TRA could learn from those Crescent Ratings and work with Crescent Rating to integrate so that they align with global standards as well. But it doesn't necessarily mean that one supersedes the other, or one can override the other. They work together. It's similar to how they did it in Cape Town, and when Cape Town they decided to do the partnership with Crescent Rating, the halal certification body in Cape Town is still doing the halal certification. The tourism board that decided to partner with the halal certification agency in South Africa is still doing their hotel certification. It's just that they're able to align them together. They're able to make sure that it aligns to the global one and the regional one. I hope that makes sense. Now we have another question. We had a hand up from Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you're allowed to talk and you've been unmuted.
We've already unmuted. Can you hear us?
Already unmuted. Can you hear us? It's a little bit echoey.
Hello?
Yes, hi, Emmanuel.
Hello?
Go on, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes.
You can hear us?
Yes.
That's good. Now, we work in the lodge, and sometimes when you have guests and you want to slaughter, whether it's chicken, whether it's...
Sorry, we lost you, Emmanuel. Maybe it would be helpful if you put your question in the Q&A section, which is in your chat or in the chat box, whichever one is easier for you. As Emmanuel is trying to reconnect, we have another question from Jamila Hassan, who is from Mombasa County Government, is asking that there's some places that are not Muslim friendly, like the airport, where there isn't any Arabian shower. Is there a follow-up on such? I think that's an excellent question. And considering that the airport is a government institution, this is a really important point. I don't know if, Fred, you might have any information on that, if you have worked with KA or working with KA on such issues. So you have to unmute.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you clearly. What was the question?
Jamila Hassan was asking if there's any follow-up going on with the airports on making them more Muslim friendly.
No, I currently I don't have information on that, but I think that is also a new area. We will seek to collaborate with the airport authorities to do that, jointly with the Halal Bureau, but right now it has not been certified.
Okay. Thank you for that. And we have, I think it is important that it highlights, again, this meeting was directed to institutions directly working in hospitality and hotels and restaurants, but it would be good to have many more similar forums and discussions with transportation system. The reason we prioritize the accommodation and hospitality is because from that chart we showed you that was the key area that Muslim travelers are looking for. It's a quick win, as we put it. Now, we have another question from Abubakar Maalim. His question is, what are the timelines the TRA is looking at in order to roll out the halal certification in Kenya in collaboration with KBHC? I see there's no questions for me. I'd love some questions too, but Fred, this question is to you. The timelines for rolling out the classification system.
For halal certification, the process of development and validation of our current draft guideline will go up to this end of financial year, which is June next year. And immediately thereafter, the next scheduled program is the certification process, which will start with first sensitization of the stakeholders and training of the certifiers, who will be working jointly or together with the Kenya Halal Bureau of Certification. So by the financial year 2021-22, that is the year where we shall have certified a number of facilities that are halal compliant. That is the timeline.
Thank you, Fred. I'd love to have more questions. We still have a little bit more time. We can take on at least 2 more questions before we go to break. Any questions? I'd love a question to me. Welcome. Don't feel scared. It can be also a comment. It doesn't have to be a question. As we're trying to wind down this is again question and discussion session. So if you have a general comment, please feel free to add. We have Fatma who's with us. I'd love to promote her to talk, because for those who don't know, Fatma works for the Kenya Tourism Board. If Fatma, you're welcome to give a general comment.
Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Good morning,
everyone. You flat-footed me a little bit. At the moment, I'm talking in my capacity as Fatma, a Muslim in the tourism sector. And I'm very happy about these sessions, because what they're doing is they're actually demystifying something. And maybe what I can share, which surprised me very much, was my experience in Australia 10 years ago. I remember when I was planning for that trip, I kept trying to find all sorts of triangulations on the internet, nearest mosque, hotel nearest mosque, because I believed that would be a Muslim area. And it was very difficult to do that, because we were going into three cities. But what amazed me the most, after the first, and I prepared myself for fish, grilled fish and vegetables. That's the advantage of Islam, you get that opportunity. Even if I can't have the meat and the chicken, I said, that's okay. At least I'll get the fish and the vegetables. So I gave up looking for what I would consider to be halal restaurants, but I managed to actually find places where I can have fish, grilled fish and chicken, and they have a lot of that. So the second day, interestingly enough, I was, when taking a cab ride back from the event to the hotel, I was picked up by a Muslim cab driver, and I could see he was a Muslim. So I greeted him, and I started a conversation with him. And I asked him, is there any way I can know where I can have food, where I can do this in different cities? And he just opened his dashboard and he pulled out a book. And there it was, all the information I needed about halal food, halal restaurants, halal. And I was actually very shocked, because we don't have the same in Kenya. And I appreciated what Samia was saying, is that we have grown up knowing our Kenyan networks, and we make the same assumption. And my observation from the discussion or the presentation that Samia has made is, I like the fact that Cape Town, New Zealand, Australia, and a few other countries are starting to let they are sensitizing their own domestic markets and international markets through campaigns to talk about halal. Halal is available for everybody, because all halal is for the food, that is, because there's halal banking, there's halal everything. What it is that it's just an opportunity for somebody to understand that there's mercy shown to the animal before it is slaughtered, because that animal has been created for us to eat. So it is just that you show it mercy before you actually slaughter it. So many people like that idea because they are tree huggers. There are people who believe in mercy to what they consider to be the non-human, objects or animals that you have to coexist with. So there's a lot of love for that. So that is an opportunity, because the more domestics, the more the number of Muslims increase, the more they demand certification, the more their own counties and governments start to sensitize their population around that, the more readily what you consider to be halal travel is actually then integrated into the societies. So, if it was up to me, I wouldn't call it, I wouldn't flag post it that way. But then again, there are things that perhaps with time will come to pass. And yeah, so shukran, Samia. Again, a pleasure to be on this. I don't know if you had anything I said, but okay.
Thank you so much, Fatma. Sorry, I cut you off. Yes, I know you're here as an individual because Fatma has been keen on this halal industry for a long time as somebody who works in the tourism sector. So thank you so much for joining us. And it does translate, and I love what Fatma just said, it does translate to marketing in terms of it's also about being cognizant to the rights of the animal when you're slaughtering. So it's more than just a ritualistic slaughter that you pray to Allah. That's more than what halal is about. And also considering the non-Muslims and how much they have been utilizing halal food sector and tapping into it in Australia and New Zealand, and taking advantage of it. And it's as a Muslim, I don't mind. They say they call it cultural appropriation. This is not cultural appropriation. It's catering to the different clienteles. Thank you, Fatma. I appreciate it. I think that ends our first part of discussion. We'll have another discussion at the end of the session. We're just taking a brief break so you can stretch your legs, 5-minute break, and so that our next presenter, Sheikh Abdulatif, can prepare himself, get his presentation ready. Thank you again for your time. Stay with us. This session is finishing at 12, so we actually have 1 hour, 5 minutes left to it. So we will take a 5-minute break, bathroom break. Thank you.
Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to everybody. My name is Sheikh Abdulatif Sheikh. I'm one of the members of Sharia Advisory Board at the Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification from its inception in 2007, not 2017. We are going to discuss about, or we'll give you just an overview of halal. Of course, the training goes for at least for a whole day. So I've tried to compress like 3 or 4 presentations together. So I'll just take you through why should we go for halal, as we well know that the halal business is worth 3.7 billion trillion. 3.7 trillion dollars. Yeah, that is the rate of 2019 for last year. Of course, it encompasses different sectors: the financial sector, the tourism sector, and other sectors. So we also want to tap from that 3.7 trillion dollars. A good example is now in the airline industry, whereby now everybody is in the catering farms, catering for the airlines. For example, NAS Nairobi, NAS Mombasa, LS, and other catering farms which are catering for the airlines. They are all on halal because they have to change with times. Without mentioning names, but the trend some years ago, it was based on like the European market, because they had the buying power. Just as an example, British Airways, Lufthansa, Swiss Air, and so on and so forth. But now they've been overtaken by Emirates, Etihad, Qataria, Egypt Air, Turkish Airlines, Saudi Airlines, Oman Airlines, and so on and so forth, whereby some of these flights, they have more like four flights in a day passing through Nairobi. And some of these airlines, they have two flights in a day. Therefore, the volumes are big. The market has opened up for the other airlines which are now have gone even stronger than the kind of past or traditional airlines. So as the other airlines are also coming up very, very strongly, the market also wants to capture them. That's why the other airline catering firms are now all halal certified, which is very positive. The objective of today's training is to educate and inform ourselves on the halal procedures. Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification, of course, established in 2007. We learned from experiences of UK, South Africa, and Malawi. Of course, in different sectors. For example, we learned from the Malawians in the abattoir and slaughtering industry, South Africa in processing farms, UK, and so on and so forth. So Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification is a not-for-profit-making organization founded in the year 2007 with an aim of ensuring that Muslims consume lawful or permitted products that comply with the Islam dietary standard as prescribed in the holy book, the Holy Quran. KBHC is a full member of World Halal Council. The World Halal Council, whose headquarters is in Istanbul, Turkey, brings together various halal certification bodies around the world, with its main aim being to set universal halal standards to be used by these certifying bodies. Just like we have Kenya Bureau of Standards, whereby other parameters have been standardized, although the levels of standardization might vary, give and take, but generally, Kenya Bureau of Standards, as an example, is also a member of standardization, whereby the whole world have standardized certain parameters for example, if it's a product which is for human consumption, up to what levels are acceptable, for example, in aflatoxin levels, and so on and so forth. So KBHC was accredited by a Malaysian government body in charge of halal certification. The acronym goes for JAKIM, as a recognized foreign halal certification body in Kenya. Therefore, you can't just wake up and become a certifying body. You have to be accredited. You have to go through all the processes. Why the Malaysian? Because the Malaysian halal body is among the best in the world. Of course, with a lot of experience, they came, they audited us. We are recently also the Gulf accreditation body, which has standardized for the Gulf countries. They also came, they also audited us, and so on and so forth. We are members of World Halal Council, whereby all the halal certifying bodies. They meet every year, come up with new strategies, see new emerging issues, and so on and so forth. What we do, KBHC is presently involved in certification procedures that include issues of halal certificates in slaughterhouses, butcheries, restaurants, kitchen, catering facilities, and manufacturing firms. Halal compliance, it involves inspection. It involves analysis where applicable. For example, products which are for human consumption, as an example, for example, oil. You see a small cube, but the ingredients are so many. So sometimes we have to analyze them and see if the parameters are allowable, not only for human consumption, but as well as the halal parameters. We do supervision where applicable, for example, in abattoirs, for example, Kenya Meat Supplies, or the Dagoretti slaughterhouse. Of course, in Dagoretti, there are more than 17 slaughterhouses. Some of them are halal certified and others are not. Huruma, the goat slaughterhouse, and so on and so forth. We do auditing. We also do consultancy. We are also involved in promotion of halal products through print and electronic media. We have held a number of halal expos. This year was supposed to hold one, but because of Corona, we couldn't. Last year, we were at Sarit Center, the year before at KICC, and also the year before whereby different stakeholders, they come, they showcase their products, whether they are in the milk industry, for example, Brookside and the like, whether they're in the manufacturing industry, for example, Pwani Oils, Bitco and the like, whether they are in the catering facilities like the airlines, restaurants, Galitos, Chicken Inn, and so on and so forth. So different stakeholders, different players, they come together and showcase their products. It's also a marketing platform where different people come together to market their products. The objective of KBHC is to strive to totally eradicate doubtful products by continuous inspection from the product source to the consumer. So when we are auditing a restaurant, for example, we'll go reverse. What do I mean by going reverse? We will go to, for example, where did they get their meat products, whether red meat or white meat. They will give us their invoices. For example, they pick or they brought from QMC or Alpha Fine Foods, or in terms of chicken, Kenchik. So we will go to Kenchik and verify, and so on and so forth. We do the other objective is maintaining the strictest criteria for universal acceptability, and also to obtain international recognition based on professionalism. That's why also the Gulf Halal body, combination of the Gulf countries, they've also come and audited us. And of course, in the meat industry right now, there's quite a lot being exported to the Gulf countries, whether it is Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Qatar or other countries, as well as in the milk industry also, they're exporting to Egypt and other countries. General requirements. When we speak about halal, some people think that halal is only spirituality, but halal also, since this product is for human consumption, therefore the halal and tayyiba, halal also has to be pure. Therefore, we look at hygienic standards. For example, we have to ensure that the highest hygiene standards are met in terms of staff personal hygiene, as well as the working environment or the working area. Staff and management, staff handling food at any point should be medically examined prior to appointment and their health monitored periodically throughout the employment tenure, because if that employee or staff is sick, some of the products which are, especially products which are for human consumption, are very, very delicate. For example, in the milk industry, there are certain illnesses can be passed through that product, which can reach the consumer. Food poisoning is also a factor, and so on and so forth. The other is clean and protective clothing should be worn by personnel handling food and visitors who visit the food preparation area. So it has to be, the staff has to be clean, and also we have to take care of that staff, because we need him today and tomorrow, or need him or her for today and tomorrow. So even protective clothing, for example, if somebody is working in an environment which has high notes of sound, so that it doesn't harm him or her for future, and so on and so forth. So protective earbuds and so on and so forth, protective clothing, gumboots, depending on where that staff is working. The staff should be informed of their responsibilities for food hygiene, safety, and halal requirement. So the head guard, the dust coat, and gumboots, and so on and so forth. So non-conforming products, the rejected items to be clearly marked as rejected items and isolated. Have a clear disposal procedure of garbage and rejected items. Hygiene, as we said, we have also to take into consideration the environment, the pest control, and so on and so forth. The working environment has to be safe. The equipment has to be marked as halal, and in case it's a facility, an issue which was mentioned by Mr. Fred, whereby a facility or a restaurant or five-star hotel which serves halal and non-halal. There are ways of how to go about it, just like there are certain hotels, five-star hotels, I can't mention by name maybe, but which have a strict line of halal and other line of non-halal, because they're big enough. Maybe they have like 4 kitchen, and each kitchen has its own line. Line meaning from the point of receiving, from the storage all through processing up to serving. So in terms of equipment, we should have separate equipment, which they should also be color coded, so that to differentiate. For example, green for vegetable, yellow for white meat, red for red meat, and so on and so forth. The equipment, all equipment, tools, utensils, and crockery used for food serving halal food should be different from those used for non-halal food. Boxes, trays, trolleys, and vehicles used for delivery of prepared food will be kept clean all the time. Of course, the procurement and receiving of raw ingredients you should put in place a procurement process that covers the flow of products from the point of delivery from its suppliers until the final delivery to the end consumer. Before shipment, the procurement officer should ensure that all the halal certificates have been sent before shipment, so that you don't get a scenario whereby a product have been shipped up to the facility and then it's rejected because it does not conform to the halal regulation. The storage of raw ingredients and prepared food storage is also a very important aspect, because you don't want a situation where you have contamination of halal and non-halal products. So storage facilities for raw ingredients or finished products should be kept clean and pest-free. Food items should be stored separately from non-food items. And also halal food should be stored appropriately and separately from non-halal foods. All stores and cold rooms should be labeled clearly. Use pilots and container to ensure there is no contamination. Not only contamination in terms of halal and non-halal foods, but you don't put a food item on the ground because people walk on the ground. You carry things from outside to the preparation area. Therefore, all food items should be on top of a pallet or so. The food preparation area, all equipment and tools used for halal food should be identified and segregated from equipment and tools used for non-halal food. Implement a color coding system to distinguish and segregate equipment, utensils, and surfaces used for halal and non-halal food preparation. Therefore, even the cutting boards, for example, even for vegetables, they have a specific code for vegetables, for salads and fruit, for cooked meat, for raw meat, for raw fish, for dairy products, and so on and so forth. In terms of personnel or staff, the personnel working with halal food should be separate from those who are working with non-halal food to avoid any form of non-halal contamination during halal food preparation. And it can be in different forms. For example, the color coding can be on different people do it differently. Some they do it in the collar, some they have a stripe on their garment, and so on and so forth, so that this person doesn't come from this side and goes to the other side. And this is well done in especially in 5-star hotels where the kitchen is big enough. Some hotels have more than 2 or 3 kitchen facilities, whereby this personnel is strictly on a certain area. For example, only chopping vegetables and fruits, and the other one just chopping, for example, meat and meat products, the other one for fish and fish products, and everybody has their own working station. The food service, if the same premises is used for assembly of both halal and non-halal foods, there should be a distinctive preparation line to prepare to separate halal food and non-halal food. The working surfaces should be thoroughly cleaned and sanitized before and after its use. The halal menu, all the food on the menu or ingredients used to do not contain any component or product that is non-halal. The food does not contain anything in any quantity that is considered as nuts. Nuts is something which is impure, for example, pork or pork products or alcohol, and so on and so forth. Halal kitchen requirement. One, you have to ensure that there is provision of at least one kitchen used only for halal cooking. That all kitchen equipment is specifically used in the halal kitchen only, and those equipment do not come out from that kitchen to another kitchen, and they have different color code. Also, that there is restriction of staff food movement in non-halal kitchens, that non-halal ingredients, including alcoholic drinks and alcoholic based ingredients, are prohibited from halal kitchen. For example, there are certain foods where red wine or other kinds of wine is mixed in the preparation of that kind of a cuisine also. Therefore, those kind of wines, so they should not be in the halal place. Then halal food and drinks. I just want to take you through generally on the basic principles, so that when we hear this is halal and this is haram, what it means. Yeah. So generally, it is compulsory for Muslims to eat and drink only what is halal. All foodstuff in their natural states, e.g. milk, honey, water, are halal, but when processed to e.g. yogurt, pastries, and so on and so forth, and some additives are used for instance, colors, flavors, emulsifiers, then the halal status of the additives have to be known. So, for example, when we have milk on its original form, of course, nowadays we have issues with milk because of aflatoxin, and research has shown that some of the milk which we consume, the aflatoxin in it is quite high, higher than what is allowable because of the kind of feeds either the cow also feeds on or eats. But generally, if we take milk, and then when we want to process that milk, especially to convert it into yogurt, then we have to look at the ingredients which we put, including coloring, the essence, and so on and so forth. Including water, you will be surprised that you see when you have natural water, whether from rain or so, it's okay. But then when you process that water, it can pass through active carbons. The best is it comes from coconut shell, but the other alternatives is from bones, and it can be bones from pig. It shouldn't surprise you that. And there are processed water which is filtered by bones or from derived from pig. So you have to be careful about that. It's good to know some general definitions. For example, Sharia. Sharia, just like in Kiswahili, Sharia. Sharia, it means Islamic law that covers both matters of belief and jurisprudence. Halal means it's also in Kiswahili, halal, anything or action that is permissible or lawful under Sharia. So if it's food which is halal, it means food which is acceptable or permissible or lawful. Haram is the opposite, thing or action that is forbidden or unlawful under Sharia. So I think it's like, for example, a banana. It can be halal, but then halal and tayyiba, a stolen banana is haram. So we don't only look at it from the face value, but also the way you acquired that banana, which is halal, but a stolen one, which would be haram. An action, for example, stealing is haram. Earning from your own sweat, as long as you're doing it the right way, it is halal. Mashbu, it's the gray area between halal and haram, thing or action that is doubtful, and its status is not definitely known whether it is halal or haram. Halal food means food permitted under the Islamic law. The principal ruling of food is all foods and drinks are permissible except what the Almighty Allah has prohibited. Halal foods should fulfill the following condition. Number one, does not consist of or contain anything which is considered to be unlawful according to Islamic law, such as intoxicants, poisoners, and so on and so forth. We not only look at intoxicants, but also poisoners, because you're not allowed to harm yourself. The other condition is it has not been prepared, processed, transported, or stored using any appliance or facility that was not free from anything unlawful according to Islamic law. And three, has not in the course of preparation, processing, transportation, or storage been in direct contact with any food that fails to satisfy 1 and 2 above. So as long as the conditions are satisfied, that food is considered to be halal. The opposite is haram. All sources of food are lawful except the following sources, including their products and derivatives, which are considered as unlawful or haram. For example, foods of animal origin, swine or pork, and its byproducts, hooves, teeth, skin, bones, and fat, or all its products are considered to be haram. And not only for the Muslims, of course, even in the Old Testament, swine is considered to be unacceptable or haram. Number two, animals not properly slaughtered according to the Islamic procedure, because Islam has a certain specific procedure in slaughtering. Number three, dead animals before being slaughtered. So you just don't get a dead chicken, and then since chicken is halal, you say you can eat it. You don't know how it died. Maybe it can be harmful to you. Maybe it's a sick chicken or goat, and so on and so forth. Number four, alcoholic drinks and intoxicants, any kind of intoxicants, heroin, white, and other hard drugs as well. Number five, carnivorous animals, e.g. dogs, cats, lions, etc. A Muslim don't eat dogs or cats, and so on and so forth. Number six, birds of prey with claws such as eagles, falcons, vultures, and other similar birds. Number seven, blood and blood byproducts. That's why Muslims don't eat mutura. Number eight, foods contaminated with any material from the above categories. Number nine, pests such as rats, crows, and other similar animals. Number 10, animals or insects which are considered repulsive generally, like lice, flies, cockroaches, and other with similar characteristics. Number 11, animals or insects forbidden to be killed in Islam, e.g. bees, woodpeckers, woodpecker bats, and so forth. Because bees, they not only make honey, but also they're very useful to ensure that pollination takes place. Then we get our fruits and so on and so forth. Number 12, mules and domestic donkeys or donkeys in other, according to whatever they pronounce. Number 13, all poisonous and hazardous reptiles such as snakes and the like. Then we also have water animals. Water animals are those which are born and live only in water. They are halal or permissible and can be eaten except if they are poisonous. Number two, intoxicating. Number three, harmful to human health. That's why I was telling you that anything which is harmful, you're not allowed to eat, even if it is a chicken which is harmful, you're not allowed to eat. Chicken which has died because of illness, milk which has a high level of aflatoxin because it's going to harm your liver, it's going to harm you, you're not allowed to take. So not only like intoxicants, but anything which is harmful to yourself or to others, you're not allowed. Products which are carcinogenic, which can bring different kind of cancers, and cancers have really increased, maybe as a result of consuming these harmful products. Plants, all types of plants and herbs, and their products are halal except if they are poisonous, intoxicating, miraa, mugoka, and so on and so forth, or harmful to human health. Then the other one is mashbuk, the doubtful. If they are plant-based products are halal. Animal-based products, they are haram if it's pork products. They are halal if they are like chicken, goat, cow, etc. Then it can either be halal if it was slaughtered according to Islamic tenets, or haram if it was not slaughtered accordingly. The basic requirement, you have to ensure that there is an effective physical segregation of halal products from non-halal products throughout the food preparation processes. I think my time is almost done. In conclusion, the above guidelines can be used to identify halal control points, HCPs, to complement the HACCP hazard analysis critical control points requirement by adding key points for halal compliance. So what I'm suggesting is it can be integrated, just like quite a number of organizations are ISO certified, and what they've done is they incorporate ISO like or internal auditor to make sure and ensure that as long as that organization has termed themselves to be ISO certified, so that the standard has to be maintained. We encourage companies to form a halal team and devise their own halal control points and include them in their standard operating procedures as a self-compliance tool. Thank you so much. Most welcome. So much honored and privileged and excited to be today with you people. And in case of any question, clarification, you're most welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair. Maybe you can stop sharing your screen so that you can go into question and answer. And we have one question that already came in. And in case of anything, we'll share all these presentations. You can read more on. The question that's coming, Sheikh, is from Mohammed Salem. He's asking about aflatoxins in regards to milk, and he's asking whether you have anything to say about the food that's grown using synthetic toxins, toxicants such as pesticides, chemicals, and so on. And if you have certification procedure for freshly grown organic food in Kenya. I think it's a really good question, especially if you're looking into starting farm tours as a tourism activity. Sheikh, welcome.
Thank you so much. In our office, we have food technologies and biochem. That question, I'm in the Sharia department, so it's a technical question. I don't want to venture into it. Thank you. In terms of organic, there are certain organizations they do organic, but we strictly do halal.
No, I think
so in abattoirs, yeah.
sorry, to clarify, his question is, so to give a background, Mohammed managed a farm, and so he's interested in organic farming, and he uses a lot of pesticides and chemicals to grow the vegetables. So is there a process for those, not for those farms, if they wanted to have their farms to have a halal certification for the farm? If I understand correctly, for their organic farm. So organic certification aside, but rather have a halal certification for a farm.
The halal industry is on the abattoirs, processing, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals. Cosmetics and pharmaceuticals, we are yet to reach there because it's quite complex and quite technical. So for now, we are not in that area. But I suppose that it will fall under the pharmaceuticals. Allah knows best. But it's to be fair and transparent, that's not my area.
Thank you for your answer, and I think it really opens up our eyes to the information we don't know out there. And I think you started out with your presentation saying that things that are found to be natural in the environment, such as plants, are naturally considered halal unless they harm the individual or they're harmful. So I think in the case that we don't have halal certification for a particular product, I would presume we should go on a safe bet scenario. The safe bet is that if the government of Kenya has certified a certain pesticide to be harmful and causes cancer, or then we should naturally not consider it to be good for any human consumption, let alone just Muslims alone. So thank you, Sheikh. If we have any other questions, feel free. If you have poor connection, you can type it in. If you raise your hands, we'll give you an opportunity to ask a question verbally. I have a question of my own, so I already know the answer to this, but I'd love for you, Sheikh, to clarify on. If somebody was ready to do halal certification right now, what is the process to go through in terms of to initiate the application?
You can download the form from the website, info@kbhc.info. There are different categories. For example, if you're a restaurant, or if you're butchery, or if you're abattoir, or you're processing a farm, for example, processing biscuits, or processing juice, or processing oil, or whatever. So according to the category of your farm, you will download the form, fill the form, send it back. You can even call. Then once the form is processed, in collaboration with the administration, with the office, you will set a date and time for the audit. Then the auditors will come, depending on the facility. If the facility needs a biochem will come. If the facility needs food technologies will come, as well as a representative from the Sharia department, or and then usually there are two auditors, or minimum of two auditors from these two departments. One, the technical department, the other one from the Sharia department. They will come audit. If there are issues, they will advise. We are not there to stop anybody's business, but in fact we are there to enhance business. So, and the beauty of it is that you always have an alternative. If this ingredient is not halal, we will advise you to the halal ingredient, because that information we also share with the World Halal Council, where all stakeholders, they share information. So we'll always give you another alternative. Mostly, synthetic ingredients will be maybe doubtful. So we'll give you the natural, but basically or generally, natural will be a bit higher or a bit expensive than the synthetic. But it's natural is always safer. Then as long as otherwise, as long as you are you have complied with all the regulations, then we will send you a contract. You'll go through the agreement. The agreement is because it's an agreement. It's a two-way agreement. Two parties are KBHC as well as you. You agree with it, you sign. Otherwise, if you have any clause which you have not understood or you have an issue, you will also discuss. Until both the two parties are happy, then they will sign, we will sign, we will send it to the relevant government department to be certified. Then it becomes a legal document. You have your copy, we have a copy, we give you your certificate. Depending on the facility, there are certificates which are annually, you have to renew annual. The other facilities you can renew after 2 years or so. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh. Very, very useful information. Again, feel free to ask questions. We have this opportunity with the Sheikh with us, especially for those who are keen and interested in pursuing the halal certificate and getting certified. And also to improving, as the Sheikh mentioned, there's a ways of improving and finding out what ingredient can I use an alternative. And in preparation to getting a certification, how can you work with the KBHC to get the best practices that will make sure that when you do apply, you are approved, and it reduces the barriers for you.
Otherwise, we really appreciate Tourism Regulatory Authority. We've worked closely with them for the last almost 2.5 years or 3 years. But of course, any government facility, it has to go through a number of processes, but we are still patiently waiting for the processes to go through. But we are on high level, and they've been very, very supportive, hoping that very soon all the protocols will go through, and then we will have these facilities also in Kenya. Meanwhile, there are quite a number of restaurants which are halal certified, quite a number of catering farms, airline catering farms, and so on and so forth, hospitals which are halal certified, or the kitchen which are halal certified. So as we are waiting for the Tourism Regulatory Authority, we want to tap from this $3.7 trillion halal business. We can't wait for all this money just to pass on our hands.
No, and I like that you mentioned actually another added benefit to getting a certificate is you list the facilities on your website, right? That you have the, I don't know if you still do the bulletin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That you list the restaurants or the kitchen.
In fact, I can show a copy, if you don't mind,
okay,
of one of a past bulletin. Then you can see the different facilities which have been halal certified, whether abattoirs or let me see if I can. Yeah, this is a past copy. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, and this is not for advertisement, but this is just an example. A list of halal certified establishment in 2013. Yeah, That's why I didn't bring the latest one. But you can, it's all in the website. For example, certified food processing companies, Alpha Fine Foods, it does smokies and burgers and all that. Sausages, baker's oven, Bakresa food products. This is Azam in Tanzania. They do ice creams, they do soft drinks, beverages, different types of juices, lemons, and so on and so forth. Brookside Industries, of course, they do milk and milk products, and so on and so forth. Kappa Oil does oil, cooking oil. Kenafric, Kevian does juice. And then you go to butcheries, for example, Choice Meat, Kenya Meat Suppliers, Pangani Meat Supplies, and so on and so forth. You go to restaurants, for example, Hashmi Barbecue, Bakers Inn, Galitos, Chicken Inn, Pizza Inn, Pride Inn, certified abattoirs, for example, Bredgate Poultry Processing Farm, Nightingale. They do turkeys and all those there. The Goriti Slaughterhouse and so on and so forth. So this is just an example of some of the facilities which have been halal certified. Thank you. But there are far much more than this. This is just
yeah. Thank you. That's actually
and alhamdulillah, we are not only in Kenya, but we've certified a number of facilities in Tanzania, in Uganda, in fact, as far as Chad and Ghana and Nigeria.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And I think for those hotels who are with us here, what would be helpful is maybe we can share a link to the website as a follow-up. I don't know if Sheikh, you have an updated list of that that we can attach.
Yes, it's in the website.
Yeah, then I can send it to participants, because if, for example, you're already procuring sausages, how do you now find a list of halal certified sausages? If you're already looking for meats and chickens, and making sure that at the bare minimum, you're able to identify suppliers who are halal, which then makes it easier for your facility to be halal. I think that is the first step and easiest step. And I think mentioning earlier that even eliminating haram foods is the first step. It's beneficial to everyone. And the second step is, okay, then how do you get these halal sourced suppliers? And then the other aspects come in later. And if you have the capacity to do them at the same time, then the easier it is to get certified and the faster it is, right? Thank you. That was really useful. I don't know if we have any more questions. We're actually quite on time. I like that we've been on time. So we have time for 2 more questions. If not, I can do the conclusion of this presentation. Again, it doesn't have to be a question. It can also be a discussion or a comment.
Just something to add, yeah? In Kenya, of course, like in countries like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and so on and so forth, the halal certification is integrated with the bureau, like the Kenya Bureau of Kenya Bureau of Standards. You know, anything which is produced in Kenya, anything which is imported to Kenya has to be certified by Kenya Bureau of Standards. Yeah. So in countries like the Gulf countries, most of them, the halal certification is integrated in the our Kenya Bureau of Standards. Yeah. So that just to make people understand. Yeah. Just like the JAKIM in Malaysia, it is integrated in the government certification body. But in Kenya, it's an option, right? So it is for that facility to come forward, or it is for the consumer to ask for halal certification. But then if you say you are halal, you have to be halal, just like what the Tourist Regulatory Authority is doing, like the star, the quality, which they've categorized like 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 5-star hotels. Yeah, if a hotel says it's a 5-star hotel, it has to keep to those standards. Yeah, so but it's a choice. You as an investor, if you want to put up a 5-star hotel, then you have to put to up to that standard. Yeah, therefore halal also for Kenya is a choice, it's an option, but you can't just wake up and say you are halal. You have to pass through all the processes and procedure and maintain that status of halal. But in the process, you are welcoming lots of other customers or clients, which because of maybe the halal issue, you're missing them.
Thank you, Sheikh. I really appreciate again your time, your expertise is undoubtedly remarkable in this area. And I will be sharing all the slides so you can the recording for this video will be shared as a link if you want to recap or share with your staff who weren't able to attend in your session. For some of you who've come in who are part of the kitchen, who you want to share it with management, for them to be aware of what the expectations are. And again, as the Sheikh mentioned, Kenya is more of an optional thing. And I think it's about, are we willing and are we interested in taking advantage of this great economic opportunity and tap into the halal market. Now, I'd love to end this session by sharing just a way forward on where do we go from here. And I think coming into sorry about that. Coming into the second training that we're going through now, I hope it's been useful, and there'll be a survey at the end of the session. Now, recapping on the opportunity of going forward, if you're ready to do halal certification and you feel your institution is ready, go for it now. If you're not ready, there are very many options. I think we've already mentioned before that everyone who participates in our session, this was a free session, but you also get a 10% discount to get advanced global training on halal certification. So it's okay, you have your halal certificate, great. You're halal certified, fantastic. But then how do you now move on to make it more, to immerse your staff in terms of management? How do you immerse your senior managers into it? How do you then target and market it to the right audience? And knowing, is the institution or is your hotel or your tour company actually appealing to the different source destinations that you're targeting? That is much more advanced and requires more time than we have to spend here today. I will share the link again on email as well on where you can go for this. You can register for e-learning webinars, you can have on-site training, resident program training as well. I believe KBHC also does specific trainings and follow-ups on the halal certification process. TRA will be doing awareness on the guidelines as they get finalized. And here we're talking of more of, okay, you have your certification that this restaurant is halal, but how do we immerse ourselves and be ready for the market? And I mentioned before in the last presentation that so I didn't introduce myself in this session, but I realize now that there are new people who are there. So I am actually one of the founders of Halal Safaris Africa, which is a tour company that does travel packages for Muslim travelers and non-Muslim travelers as well, but halal travel packages. So our main interest in this is if we have more facilities to sell, they won't be even enough for us to sell. There'll be more travel agents interested in selling them. We're the only exclusive travel company in Kenya. and in East Africa, but why don't we have 10? Why can't we have 20 more? That's because maybe we're not offering enough products, so we're not offering enough diversity for that. And my role also is as a channel partner for Crescent Rating, has been how do we now create this comprehensive approach, targeting marketing, targeting product development, targeting diversification of the product range in the tourism sector to target these areas. And Crescent Rating over the last 12 years has worked with Indonesia, Cape Town, Taiwan, New Zealand, Australia, many tourism agencies, government institutions especially. And how do you create a whole-rounded approach beyond just the certification? How do we go into the branding and marketing, as well as capacity building for tapping into this sector? The knowledge on having the knowledge on what markets to target, how to target them, how to deal with the different clients, how to set up information that can be distributed to the right countries and that you want to target your audiences. And so there's 3 levels of services that Crescent Rating provides. And so when you get the coupon codes, and for those who have maybe looked into it already, that you can choose where you want to utilize it, be it in certification for a travel agent or a restaurant, hotel. And this is again based on global standards. How do you get, and again, the rating and accreditation put here is not the same as KBHC. Those are 2 different things. What we're talking about is rating and accreditation of the tourism facility as a whole, in which now matches into the global standards. I think it's similar to what TRA has been developing, but now it's kind of like providing a marketing platform where now it's not just known to Kenyan travelers, but how do you make it known to international travelers that this hotel is halal certified and has X facilities. And that is through 2 platforms. We also have Halal Trip, which is a travel website similar to kind of TripAdvisor, where hotels and tour companies are posted, and information about how to travel, where to book, and what services they have to offer is all comprehensively listed there. And then marketing and targeting in terms of having a pool of also content creators who specifically are knowledgeable on the halal travel market. How do you get them to Kenya? How do you get them to your hotels? How do you get them to your destinations? So it's really comprehensive. And I urge you all to take advantage of it. I'm very fortunate. As Sheikh mentioned, that Malaysia is well known as the main halal tourism destination. I'm very fortunate to have had my training in Malaysia and utilize some of those concepts towards developing halal safaris. But now obviously we are in the time where not everyone can go abroad and learn these things. How do you make it now come to us? And it has to be through digital work. So do let us know how we can work together. Feel free to get in touch. When you do get certified or you want to be certified, let us know. We can put you in touch with Professor Sheikh here and KBHC, or just go to the website that I put in the comment box. At the same time, if you're ready and you want to develop a package together, you have the product and you want to partner, let's also do that. And as we go on, let's keep in touch. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for the opportunity. Feel free to get in touch. At the end of this survey, at the end of this presentation, there'll also be a survey. So thanks for your time and have a good day. Thank you, Sheikh, for your time. Much appreciated. We'll continue being in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much. Shukran.